Welcome to the Polar Express, the only Christmas movie that manages to be festive, nostalgic, and deeply unsettling all at the same time. It has Tom Hanks, snow, trains, and enough uncanny valley energy to make your childhood memories feel like a fever dream. So we start with a kid. No name, no personality, just pure doubt. Just a narrator and his former stuff. He doesn't believe in Santa anymore, which is sad, but he is trying so hard to still find the power to believe in him. He is even listening for Santa's bells, but he gets disappointed again, as it's only his dad. Well, he also has scientific proof that Santa isn't real, so I think that's it. This movie feels like it was animated on a potato that really believed in itself. So that means it's time for him to be forcibly whisked away by a mysterious train that literally pulls up in front of his house at midnight. You know, the usual Christmas miracle / abduction. The kid steps outside in his pajama, but while going out, he rips apart one of the pockets. And instead of doing what a normal child would do, like scream and run, he just stares at the train like, yeah sure, let's board a supernatural locomotive that just so happens to spawn there without any train tracks in the middle of the night. No questions asked. Also, nobody else wakes up because of this huge and loud ass train in the middle of that neighborhood, you know, the usual movie science stuff. We finally see the train from the outside and it just spawns in because, you know, it's the when you don't look at it, it's not their type of train. Also, the amount of flickering lights rushing by his window and where the train then finally stands is just not in any correlation. Well, enter Tom Hanks as the train conductor. He looks like your uncle if he was rendered in the PlayStation 2 graphics. He tells the kid, well, you coming? And somehow that's enough to convince him to step into a stranger's train. Because if there's one thing movies taught us, it's to always get in the vehicle that mysteriously appears in the dark. But to be fair, he said that the train is going to the North Pole, so I would be intrigued too. Well, the conductor tells him that he lost his Christmas spirit, as he didn't do anything Thunder related. No pictures, no letter, no, not anything. He hesitates at first, even denying, but gets on anyways. Once on board, we meet the other passengers. There are a lot of children, but only a few matter. The hero girl. She's confident, fearless, probably more qualified to drive the train than the adults. Then we have the know-it-all kid. Here's a walking Wikipedia page, and he's like the actually guy. And well, we have Billy, aka the lonely boy, who literally sits in the back of the train like a sad subplot. Imagine being the parents. Honey, where's Timmy? Oh, mysterious train whisked him away. The classic. Well, the kids all somehow magically have a golden ticket in their pocket, and the conductor uses his hole puncher to write letters in there. Well, Hero Kid uses the emergency brake to stop the train so Billy can get on, and Tom just screams at him for being so stupid. Well, Tom understands after they explain why. Right after that, they break into a song about hot chocolate. And when I say break into, I mean there's a full-blown, synchronized musical number with waiters flipping in the air and slamming cups down like it's a caffeinated Cirque du Soleil. I forgot how crazy this movie is. Well, Hero goes save the hot chocolate for the boy in the back. The conductor comes in and they both go together. But she left her golden ticket on her seat. Maybe on purpose, maybe not. Who knows? Well, Hero boy doesn't think and just grabs it. And I don't know why. He wants to bring it to her and the conductor right this second. But that means he has to go outside to the other wagon. But because this is a moving train, it's fast, cold, and who guessed it, it's also pretty windy. And it comes as it has to, he loses her ticket. It flies away, never to be seen again. Well, not really. This is a kids movie about the spirit of Christmas. So of course the movie has to pull the biggest movie science shenanigans possible and actually makes us believe in all those little coincidences. End of story, the ticket manages to fly back into the train. Because the girl doesn't have a ticket, the conductor guides her to the back of the train, and Hero Kid finds her ticket in the ventilation system where it ended up. He goes after them, finally manages to fully hold onto it, following them leads him onto the roof of the train. Up top, we meet hobo Tom Hanks, of course we do. A ghost who just sits on top of the moving train and says cryptic things like he just graduated from Philosophy 101. He disappears into the snow like a poorly rendered Jedi, and nobody really explains who or what he really is. The question that is coming to my mind is just how is he not freezing to death? It's probably cold as fuck up there. He's trying to wake himself up in the snow, as the footprints of the hobo disappear too. But the hobo comes back, this time with skis, and they move to the front of the train. Well, they need to move fast, as after the hill there's gonna be a tunnel. I'm not sure why they don't just go in the back of the train and go inside where it's warm and safe. But this way is more dramatic. I mean, do I even have to comment on how unrealistic any of this nonsense is, or are you guys seeing this? The hobo disappears again, this time probably for good, as he just evaporates into the night. We have 30 minutes in and I still don't know if this is a dream or if the kid is dead. The kid crashes into the coal deposit and goes out at the front, where he finds the hero girl, piloting the train all by herself. The train driver is up front changing the light. After that they have to pull the brakes, as there are a million reindeers blocking the tracks. They manage to clear it and want to drive slow, but somehow this isn't possible as they go faster and faster, and then the unthinkable happens. The train somehow turns into a full-blown roller coaster. They go up and down hills that are physically not possible, but who cares? It's a kids' Christmas movie. At this point, the movie is just speedrunning trauma. The problem we are having now is that the thingy that controls the speed of the train broke, and the pin that was holding it in place dropped, and the train driver accidentally swallowed it. I'm not really sure why they don't hit the brakes again. I mean, yes, they would be late, but hey, they would also not be that. I know it's a hard bargain, but I guess it's fair. Suddenly, the train starts going completely off the rails, literally and narratively. They speed across a frozen lake, as I don't know why they put the train tracks there. Well, this little pin, I can't really describe it, but it has it out for them. as it was apparently fast and heavy enough to break the ice, which is now collapsing behind them as they drive over it. End of story. The mechanic had a pin in his hair this whole time, and now they use his pin to fix the part and they finally come to a stop. Actually, not end of story. Now they drift like they were in a Fast and Furious Christmas drift. This motherfucker just drifted a train. I can't even drive properly. Holy shit. Well, so they get back on track, even though the complete back half of the train was already underwater. And I just noticed that the locomotive is basically made out of jelly when they drive up that hill. Honestly, it feels like every time the plot slows down, they just throw another Tom Hanks at the screen. Because as they move through the puppet section of the train, the Ebenezer puppet is also played by Tom Hanks. That's just crazy. He gets back to the others, but only cares for what the girl is doing. She is listening to Billy singing, and even starts to join in. They obviously sing about Christmas, but not our hero boy, as he doesn't believe in it anymore. And then we finally arrive at the North Pole. I hope it's as good as they made it up to be at this point. Well, they got there with time to spare, and it only took them like 2 minutes to get there. I want to get Billy to come out too, because he didn't want to, but Hero Kid is just so clumsy at life as nothing has gone right for him so far. And he decouples the wagon from the rest of the train. They drive through the city and end up in the train sorting center. Then the girl tells them they should follow the sleigh bells, but we can't hear them, as the Hero Kid can't hear them either. So because they trust her, they choose that one tunnel and manage to get out of there, right into the big factory, which looks like Santa's factory meets a post-apocalyptic Christmas IKEA. Well, then the kids that got separated fall into a giant pile of gifts, after sliding down the biggest slide ever. There's suspense, chaos, and the real possibility that a child could get crushed to death by a toy bag. Or the possibility that someone opens a present before Christmas. Classic family fun. So now they are all inside the big bag full of Santa stuff, and surprise, surprise, the actually kid also followed them somehow. They land, even though if it didn't really look like they would make it. And the kids get out of the bag again. And then we come to the sad part. Our guy finally sees the bells he can't hear, and is really disappointed in himself. Well, anyways, one of the bells trips off and right in front of our guy, but he still can't hear it. He tries very hard to believe, and he then actually hears the bell. Then, at long last, Santa arrives. And he is, surprise surprise, also Tom Hanks. At this point, I half expected Mrs. Claus to pull off her wig and reveal she was Tom Hanks too. And then, there's Tom Hanks again. Multiple times, he plays the conductor, the ghost hobo, the kid's dad, and Santa himself, and Ebenezer. At this point, I'm convinced this is less of a children's movie and more of a psychological study on how many characters one man can play before we notice. He does 6 different characters in this movie. 6 down. Santa walks out like a WWE wrestler, entertaining the ring, and his boots are louder than my student loan debt. Santa gives a speech about believing in the magic of Christmas, and our main character gets chosen as the first one to receive his gifts this Christmas. And his big surprise? He receives a sleigh bell from Santa as his gift, but he can only hear it ring if he believes, because apparently magic is conditional now. He puts the bell into the broken pocket, as stupid kids do, but it doesn't really matter for now, as Santa is taking off and off to deliver all the presents. They have to get back to the train because they have to get back home, and they all learn their lesson. The conductor punched into their respective tickets. And the kid manages to lose the bell, the one Santa gave him. The one thing nobody can replace. Well, too bad. He cries the whole ride home, and the kids get home one by one. The second kid that leaves the train is our guy. When he comes home, he realizes that Santa hasn't been to his house yet, so he goes to sleep. Then the kid wakes up on Christmas morning, and he finds the bell under the tree, and he can still hear it ring. He's like, wow, it was all real! Meanwhile, the parents can't hear the bell, which just raises a bunch of questions nobody wants to ask. And I'm just too lazy to explain. The moral of the story is, if you stop believing in Santa, you lose surround sound. And lastly, in conclusion, belief fuels auditory hallucinations, Tom Hanks is everyone, and trains can show up on your street, and you should probably go with it. Happy holidays. If you thought the Polar Express was a trip, just wait until we take a sharp left into 2000 comedy chaos with Jingle All the Way. A movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger fights a mailman for a plastic doll. Because nothing says Christmas like violence and capitalism. Yay! Well, yeah, that wraps up that awfully long movie. Hope you enjoyed and let me know what movie you want to see in the future. Alright, that's it for now. If you like this disaster of a recap, feel free to click some buttons, or don't. I'm not your dad, so that YouTube knows that my videos are worth watching. Thanks again, and see you in the next one. Bye!